I know lots of people want to grow. So I did put together some suggestions here for it's not even suggestions. It's really a breakdown of without spending money, my newsletter does still grow. Like I said, I'm bringing in lots of new subscribers. So I want to share 7 ways I grow my newsletter without spending a dollar. The first is word of mouth. It's just simply the best marketing tactic in the world is a valuable product. I flat out say, and I've tweeted this, my newsletter is awesome. I truly believe that. If you don't believe your newsletter is great, you have a bigger problem than a marketing problem. My newsletter is awesome, so readers tell others about it. It seems obvious, but I think most creators spend more time looking for growth hacks than they do improving their newsletter itself. And they would grow more if they had a better product and a better newsletter. And I'm sure you have found similar in your experience. The second way my newsletter has grown without spending a dollar is I optimize my social bios for the newsletter. So my Twitter and LinkedIn bios are specifically designed to drive people to subscribe to my newsletter. There's a clear call to action in the bios for the newsletter. And the link that I use takes people straight to my newsletter sign up page. It doesn't take them to the homepage of my website. I don't want them to just go to my homepage and then hope they find their way there. I want, if they're checking out my profile, I want you to get on my newsletter. Here's why you should do it. Here's what's in it for you. And here's the place to go do it. The third way that I grow is the ConvertKit Creator Network and SparkLoop. I'm a big fan of ConvertKit. I've used it for a few years. I used to use something else that's much better than what I used to use. Their creator network is great. It's, again, just a recommendation engine where people can recommend you and vice versa. I think that and SparkLoop, which ConvertKit now owns, those are the best newsletter recommendation tools around. And you can use, and I apologize, I know you're a queen of MailChimp. And you can use them paid. That's the other thing. You can use them for free. And you can also use them paid if you do want to amplify your growth. And I have done that in the past. The fourth way I grow my newsletter without spending a dollar is pre-promotion of upcoming issues on social media. So it's fine to promote your newsletter after it comes out, and it's great, and you should, but it's more effective in terms of getting subscribers to promote it before it's published. So if you tease what you're going to be sharing with the specific value people will get from reading that issue, it gives people a clear reason to subscribe so they don't miss it. Just sharing the issue and going, hey, here's the issue I published yesterday. They might click and read it, but they don't necessarily need to subscribe. It's much better to go, hey, if you want to learn about X, not X, the platform, but if you want to learn about fill in the blank, go subscribe to my newsletter because that's what I'm going to share tomorrow. The next key for growth for me is I have sign up forms and links to sign up to my newsletter everywhere. If you read any of my blog posts, old or new, it's impossible to not know I have a newsletter. There are forms at the bottom of every post, and more importantly, there are mentions of the newsletter with links to my sign up page within the content of most posts. A lot of times people have a form buried on the footer, buried on the sidebar, and then they go, oh, people are reading my post, but they're not subscribing. Put it in the section where they're reading. Even it doesn't even have to be a form. It can be a little like a side line of if you're writing a post about how to use Instagram, you can have a little parentheses, which like, speaking of using Instagram, you might want to check out my newsletter for more tips about how to use it, that kind of thing. You'll get way more subscribers there. Then the sixth thing that has driven growth for me is cross promotions. I think they're the single best way to get new subscribers for free. It's to find someone with a similar audience and offer to promote their newsletter in exchange for them promoting yours. When a cross promotion works well, do it again a few months later and again a few months after that. This is another thing I think people forget, right? They do it once. They're like, oh, that was great. Okay, you both benefited from it. So reach back out and be like, hey, let's do this again in 3 months or 6 months or whatever. The other thing I would add here about cross promotion is a lot of times people assume if you want to cross promote your newsletter, it has to be with another newsletter, but it doesn't. Like maybe there's someone with a big Instagram channel or even a small Instagram channel that speaks to your audience. You can promote their Instagram in your newsletter and they can promote your newsletter on their Instagram. Don't limit yourself to thinking it just has to be newsletter for newsletter. And then the seventh and last way that I've grown my newsletter a lot without spending a lot of money is my podcast and YouTube channel. Just like with my blog posts, it's impossible to listen to my podcast or watch the episodes on YouTube and not know I have a newsletter. We've already in this episode multiple times talked about my newsletter, of course. Most importantly, the topics I discuss on my podcast are in alignment with the types of things I cover in my newsletter. So a lot of times you will see people where that misalignment, they created this other thing, but it doesn't align with what the newsletter is or vice versa. For me, if you listen to my show because you're an expert who wants to grow your business, chances are you're going to be interested in my newsletter, which is about, you guessed it, how to grow your business as an expert. So you really want those things aligned. And this also extends to your business, right? Your newsletter, your social content, your podcast, your YouTube, whatever you're doing, all of those things should be aligned in terms of the topics you cover and the end result that you help people get. And that should be the same end result that you're helping people get through your business.
Mm.
And so if you do any or all of those 7 things, I guarantee your newsletter will grow